Howdy everyone, and welcome back. Sorry for the another delay. Obviously doing things, work, car, my car especially. So, what are you looking at? Get back over here, Topaz. So obviously, if you know your stuff, then you can spot Stug in all of its Stug glory. Some form of weird FT-17 hybrid with a an FT-17 and two Vickers 6 tons mated, and this is what you got. And none of those Vickers 6 tons were British. And then we have a Panzer III, which is a work in progress. Oh, that's right, I should explain what I mean by teammates. This is the Last Brigade, and now the Last Brigade is a German-inspired faction for TPD, the Winter Games, whenever we get to those. So essentially, it is me, Mr. Imperial Waffle, Gear, Laser, and Ahmad. As of now. Potentially Panzer? I'm hoping in Editing Cringe does this and then has like a breakdancing crab or whatever while I'm running this part. You better do it, you cracker motherfucker. Anyway, yeah, this is just what I've been working on. I'm gonna put this at the start of the video, skip to whatever time pops up on the screen to get to the actual gameplay. There's gonna be a little exposition dump. Thank you. Just fucking skip. Look at him. Look at his. Look at him. It's so good. It's actually so peak. The skip is such a nice little goober. Oh, I guess since we have two German tanks and one French tank, I have to make French. Let's make an R35. Yeah, let's make an R35. Alright, I don't know how I'm going to do this, if it's going to be a time-lapse or not. I really don't feel like recording a time-lapse. So, yeah. But I just want to talk while I build and say some things. Like, especially how we're so close to 300. We were at 291, then we lost one, which, to be fair, can't blame you. I have not recorded in ages. Let me look up inspiration here. Can't see it, but I'm googling the R35 tank. But you have to, like, specify, because or else it brings up the Nissan. Oh, I could make the Romanian R35. That's not an R35. What the? It's a Valentine. Oh my gosh, hold up, guys. Well, we might be making another What the fuck? I'm sorry, I just got distracted by a Stuart with a Grant turret. So yeah, the vehicle I am about to work on is the R35. Wait, were those sold to Lebanon? Hold up, I gotta do research here. It is a 2-pounder! Oh my gosh! I didn't realize this. I thought that was the Romanian one. Hold up, I found a new favorite tank. Wow, those are insanely similar. So we have two options for the R35 here, and I think both are incredibly interesting, and one I just discovered. So you have the Romanian R35, which, put it here in cringe, is a R35 that was rearmed with a captured 45mm gun. However, even though that was modified a bit, you can also put a T26 turret on it, that also fits. But the R35 in Lebanese service has a 2-pounder. And I think that's the one we're going to use. So, let me explain a bit more of the lore of this nation real quick. Because I know not even all the people in it fully understand. So essentially, it is, like, just to put it, simply. But yes, explaining the lore. So the following segment was so poorly spoken that I've had to re-record it twice, and going on 3 times now, because I cannot say this properly. But the lore of the last battalion is decently simple right now. You have two nations, Ostland and what would be known as Eastland in Ostland. However, it is in French, and I am not even going to try to pronounce that. And essentially, Ostland and Eastland went to war, and since you're knowing it as Eastland, you can probably guess what happened. Just like France in real life, Eastland fell very quickly after a blitz, and, well, that's putting it simply. But Oslin, now lacking tank production, decided to continue production of the more modern French equipment. I'm just going to keep calling them that. And also use Bois-de-Panzers, which are trophy tanks, another historical aspect that I am mimicking in From the Depths. Anyway, that's a very simple lore. Oh yeah. So, now, why are we the Oslin Wall garrison? It's simple. We invaded the British, and the British invaded us back, and we died a horrible, horrible death. And all that remained was the coastal wall where they had turned the guns onto the land, and the British were like, nah, not dealing with that. I say the British because it's actually another player faction. Thank you, Gaming19, for participating with me. Anyways, back to your recording. Yeet. But yeah, Oslin went in on their neighboring country, which I don't have a name for yet because it's another player country. And we already have a collaborator. Thank you, Gaming19, for being the, well, my bad guys. For you're the good guys. You're actually, like, the good guys to the world. Oslin invaded, whatever gaming country is going to be, and got their asses kicked. I wrote it in as we were not winning at all. Went in with captured equipment from the nation of Terre de la Ouest, which is essentially Westland. Yes, I know I'm creative with Oslin and Westland. So Eastland and Westland. East is basically Germany. West is essentially France. And mimicking real life, we killed the French. We cleansed a great evil from the world. Not that we're any less evil. We're just, you know, not French. But what this does give me is a good excuse to make some of my favorite tanks for this faction. Like, I made the FT-17. It's actually one of my favorites. It's just, you know, an interesting tank. I have plans, obviously, we're making an R35 right now. And this R35 will be paired with a B1 Bis and a Samoa if things go well. So, yeah, that's a lot to expect. I have very high expectations for this faction. Just with me improving, along with just... Wow, that's honestly ugly. I can make that better. I know the back of a lot of French tanks were really flat because they had trench crossers installed. Which, if you're not sure, those are like little ducktails that you see on FTs and Hotchkiss tanks. They're really a remnant of World War I. They were meant to cross trenches. Which that kind of does fall into the French doctrine. Being defensive, they really prepared for the wrong war. Yes, I am going to get into a lot of like World War II history here, because it's very interesting, and it is context. So, the R35, just going off of my head here, editing cringe, please double check everything, make sure I'm not girl boss gaslighting. Alright, so welcome to the historical context of the video, or the voiceover, depending on how I decide to do things. So, as you know, we have made an R35, or if this is at the start of the video, we have just started making an R35. Hence, the vehicle... whatever's on the screen right now. It's probably will turn out to be an R35. It's not a great recreation. It's a kit bash of multiple different variants of the R35, along with, accidentally, some things from the Soviet T-60. So, I'm going to be reading off the design and the usage of the R35 from a variety of sources, including the tank in AFV.com, World War II, under the France tag. It has a huge page on the R35. I also have a variety of tank encyclopedia pages pulled up that I'm going to read from. And just in case I need something, I also have Wikipedia. I've mainly done my own research via YouTube and just Googling things, like, and especially from this website and Tank Encyclopedia. Solid sources. Okay. I will be reading off of this. I don't know, it's NC-27. Oh, it's just an FT. So, the successor of the famous FT. Until 1935, the little vintage Renault FT was the staple of the French tank force. On the mainland, it had been upgraded as the rearmed FT-31, but throughout the colonies, it was left unchanged since 1918. It was clear by 1932 that the new tested Renault tanks like the SC-27 were not sufficient for the tasks demanded from them. They were too heavy, complex, costly, and therefore did not suit for mass production. The original requirements dated back from 1926 and asked for a, oh gosh, I'm gonna butcher this, char d'accompagnement, what? Char d'accompagnement support tank that could replace the FT and still operate in the same manner. However, with the increase in anti-tank gun caliber and velocity, the emphasis was put on protection. In early 1933, Hotchkiss proposed a solution with an affordable small tank which turned the table. But instead of purchasing some directly, for political reasons and due to the contract size, other contractors were asked in August of 1933 to present their own models. 14 responded, ranging from automotive companies to small armories. And that had the story on how the Renault and that was the story on how the R35 was conceived. Essentially, how I met your mother for tanks. Why is this doing literally nothing? You don't have detection. I'll add that later. So, let's get on to its development history. Renault badly wanted this contract, rushed the prototype which was ready when a new specification was emitted on June 21st, 1934. He asked for an increase in armor from 30 to 40 millimeters. Renault could not revise the design on time and was first present its ZM prototype to the Commission de Vincennes on 20th December 1934. The model performed well, but was sent back to the factory for add-on armor and mounting the new EPX cast turret in April of 1935. Tests were then resumed when, due to the growing tensions caused by the swift and massive German rearmament, the Commission awarded the new tank a contract for 300 machines as the R35 on 29th of April 1935. This was before the model could be perfected by Renault for pre-production. The hollow hull price was 190,000 francs, I believe that stands for, FF. And with engine, mechanical parts, and turret rose to 1,400,000 francs, including all modifications done, the equivalent of $32,000 at the time. Contrary to the Hotchkiss 835, it was produced for export, which if you've heard me yap throughout the video when talking, you will definitely see. These things were sent everywhere. So, let's get on to its actual design, because that was its developmental history. I'll also link this page down below so y'all can read it. It's very interesting. Especially you, Wrench. You need to get smart. The R35 bears a strong resemblance to its rival, the Hotchkiss H39, as they share the same APX turret, the three-module hull construction, and placement for the driver and engine. However, their dimensions differed, as well as the placement of the hull casemate, placed further to the rear for the Renault, and most obviously, the drivetrain. The hull, as stated above, was made of 3 prefabricated cast sections bolted together, while in the H35, these were welded. This helped improve production times. Everything else was welded on. Maximum thickness on the glacis of the plate, the UFP, and 40 to 30 millimeters on the. Is it talking about the side? Okay. Its upper superstructure was 43 millimeters thick, and on the bottom of the superstructure, it was 40 to 30 millimeters thick. Everyone's happy. I'm happy. That's actually like pretty good armor for the time. It was also on the rear engine deck. The turret itself was made from hard cast iron 30 millimeters thick. The running gear was based on one used on the cavalry light tank the AMR-35. With 5 double-rolled wheels encased in 2 sets of bogies and another single one at the front. All 3 were suspended by massive horizontal coil springs with characteristic rubber ringlets. Can't speak today. The drive sprocket was at the front and idler at the rear. The tracks reposed on 3 rubberized return rollers. Blah blah blah. It was powered by a V4 85 horsepower engine with a self-sealing 165-liter gas tank on its left. Practical top speed was measured as 20 kilometers an hour or 12.4 miles an hour. And it could fall down to 14 kilometers an hour or 8.7 kilometers an hour on bumpy terrain or soft terrain. Which, you really think about it, that's bad. Even though it's an infantry support tank and it's meant to follow the infantry and chill with them, with how quickly things changed in, you know, obviously the maneuver warfare that the British came up with, and then the Germans used against France and Poland. I mean, these things were completely inadequate just by the time they came out. Because of that speed, I would argue. And they're shitty guns. Alright. It also had a limited range of 100 kilometers off-road. But that was not a problem since it was believed 50 kilometers was more than sufficient for a real breakthrough on a static front. Once again, just not thinking this right. But hindsight's 2020, keep that in mind. The turret received a dome-like rotatable cupola with vertical vision slits. It was free running on a ball track ring, either traversed by the weight or the commander, or cranked more precisely for aiming. The commander normally stood on the tank floor, as customary in French practice. The turret had a rear hatch that could be hinged down, allowing the commander to sit on it, legs inside for internal observation. The early turret model was for the APX-R, equipped with a L713 sight, mounting the short barrel 37mm Houtot L21 SA-18 and a coax 7.5 machine gun. The main gun was only effective against concrete fortifications at short range, as its muzzle velocity was only 300 meters a second. At best, only 12 millimeters of armor could be defeated by less than 500 meters. Once again, it was due to tactical limitations. It was never intended to deal with other tanks. Keep that in mind. Normal provision of ammo was 72 AP and 58 HE shells plus 2,400 cartridges. Which is kind of dumb. I'm gonna be real. I know these things are meant to shoot like static fortifications, but France also was the one being assaulted. They were playing defense. So just loading HE shells sounds like a better idea, and then getting like a good AP. I don't know. The French are weird, man. Very strange creatures, the French are. If you're hating the sound of this gun, though, don't worry. It does eventually get better. So, production. The total order, due to the degrading international situation, rose to 2,300 units in 1939, but due to the frequent delays experienced by APX for the turrets, by 1936 Renault had succeeded to deliver 380 hulls, while only 37 turrets were available, so the annual delivery rate fell to just 200. On 1st of September 1939, only 975 vehicles had been delivered for the Army out of the 1,070 produced total. They then just replaced most units still equipped with Renault FT, but crews needed a few weeks to retrain. In consequence, in May 1940, there were still 8 battalions of FTs operational due to the lack of trained conscripts. In June 1940, at last, 1,601 Renault R35s had been built by Renault. Most for the army, 245 had been exported to Poland, Turkey, Romania, and Yugoslavia. Another number represented is 1,685 vehicles, included the hull numbering. Production ceased after the capitulation of France. So yeah, you see 50 to Poland, 100 to Turkey, 41 to Romania, which will come in very useful. And okay, that sounded very bad. They will come in historically later on. They'll be very important for Romania. And Yugoslavia, 54. Another user, very important for the Yugos. Turkey didn't do shit. Let's be real. And then Poland, they were captured by what few survived. They booked it for the border, and I believe went to Romania. So they joined the Romanian R-35s, and the others were just captured. I know a few might have fled into Russia, but those were kept for testing by the Russians and never saw combat. But by the end of the invasion of France, they did upgrade the turret. They gave it a longer barrel 37, and I think that's really the only change. There's a new gun. It could actually quite well deal with the early war German tanks. I think even the early Panzer IIIs and 4s, maybe not the Stug, but it's still decently thin armor. Let me just check the game here. Alright, let's see. So, now, there is also a successor designed for the R-35. Was it good? No. Kind of. Okay. So, it's weird. I'll read it out here, but I'm not a fan, because I think the suspension looks worse. The Renault R40. Due to insufficient tests before production, it appeared quite quickly to the units that the R-35 suspension was notably unreliable and experienced many failures. Okay, I was right about that earlier. You might not have heard it, but I had mentioned that I knew the Panzer, what's it called? Oh, I went blank. That the R-35's, the Panzerjäger, yeah, the Panzerjäger conversion was horribly, unreliable. During Barbarossa, they had tremendous breakdown rates. And this explains that the suspension was to blame. Let's see, where's the R40? There it is. So they work started in 1939 at AMX, the new name of Renault Tank Department, after the 2nd of December 1936, to devise a better system which could be fitted on the production run. This new system counted 12 wheels and 6 pairs suspended by large vertical coil springs. These were protected by armored side skirts. The engine was upgraded and more powerful, while the hull was lengthened at the rear, and the turret was of the new APX R1 cast model with L767 sight, mounting a long barrel 37. If I can remember, I will put a screenshot that I am actively taking as we speak of 3 variants of the R-35. I'm counting the R-40 as an R-35, I don't care. I'll put that in so that way you get a bit of context. Last but not least, a radio was systematically fitted. Oh, wait, I already had to increase the count. Last but not least, a radio was systematically fitted. The new gun was capable of defeating 40 millimeters of armor at 500 meters, which is actually how much it has. So its own gun was capable of taking it out. So it's actually, not bad. Long barrel 37 wasn't terrible. Worse than the 2-pounder, though. For the ordnance, it was the Char de Gaulle Model 1935, or Modify 1939, and began to replace the R-35 after the 1,540th unit. Unfortunately, only few were delivered in time. The reconstituted Polish 10th Armored Cavalry Brigade in France was the first unit to be equipped with the new tank. At the same time, since 1939, some R-35s were re-equipped with the new APX-R turret in the long barrel in 1939. Okay, so his gun was replaced twice. Gotcha. Okay. These were known as the R-35 Modified 39, but only a few were converted, given to unit commanders. AMX also produced quantities of steering tails prior to the war to improve their trench crossing capabilities. These were not always fitted. Which is why mine doesn't have any. Spoilers if this is early in the video. So, the R-35 in action. At the time of the German attack on France, the French army had 900 R-35s in service, then the most numerous model available. According to the French military doctrine, it was to be used only for direct infantry support. However, its gun proved to be able to defeat Panzer I and IIs, while the frontal armor could even withstand a direct hit from a standard 37mm. I assume it means from the Germans. I doubt the 37 could take down anything more than like the World War I 37. It isn't mentioning here though that in 1936, I think, there was a APCR shell developed for that gun, the short stubby 37, to give it some anti-tank capabilities. And while it was total ass, it still would be able to kill Panzer Is. The R-35 equipped the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th... Wait, no. They didn't... Wait. They don't equip the 6th, just the 7th, 8th, and 9th armies. Plus the Armée des Alpes, facing the Italian border into Groupements de Bataillon de Chars. These were strictly tank units without other organic component, and only committed to infantry support in close coordination with infantry units. However, on the 15th of May, it was clear that the doctrine was failing. 135 R-35s from the 2nd, 24th, and 44th BCC were allocated to a newly formed 4th DCR, Division Côte Est de Reserve, while two others, 40 and 48th, reinforced the 2nd DCR. Later, 300 tanks from the Material Reserve were also reserved for these new units. Many R-35s were found in the colonies. The 63rd and 68th BCC were in Syria, 95 tanks, and the 62nd BCC in Morocco with 30. The irony was that the first faced Australian troops during an Allied invasion that the Mandate territory in The irony was the first faced Australian troops during the Allied invasion of the Mandate territory in 1941, while the others faced American troops in November 1942. Later on, the Free French 1st CCC constituted a unit with available R-35s operations in the sector. That was worded very poorly, but what it was trying to say was that the right before Operation Torch, the Vichy French were actually fighting the Allies. Had to translate there from nerd. In just bad writing. Let's be real, that was actually very poorly written. So, there's other information here. The only real one that matters is the Lebanese and Romanian ones, along with the converted Panzerjäger. Because that's actually what we're going to be doing here. Spoilers! I can read the German one. Let me summarize the other ones, though. Oh, man. How long have I been recording this for? 24 minutes. Alright, so, Poland. To summarize, the Poles wanted to buy the Samoa S-35, but that was too advanced. So, the French government said, you want R-35s? And the Poles kind of got swindled. But they bought that because they didn't want to, produce another tank because they were already making 7 TPs, so they ordered 100 of them. And the first batch actually included 3 Hotchkiss H-35s because I guess there weren't enough of them. And they took part in battles against the Germans at Strumilova and the Soviets at Krasny. 34 tanks of the 21st Light Tank Battalion went to Romania. Yep. After Poland's capitulation, however, a cavalry unit was raised in France. Yeah, they just got back in R35s. So it's like, wow, these things suck. Immediately gets put back in them. What? And also, you may be asking, Cringe, why are you making purpose? Why are you designing shitty tanks based off of shitty tanks? It's for LARP, all right. Sue me. I'm poor. Please don't. All right, with the Germans, the German army snapped no less than 843 R-35s, according to the Waffen-Net, in the aftermath of the French surrender. 131 of these were used directly as Panzerkampfwagen 35R731Fs for security, mainly in France. Let me translate that from German to, you know, somewhat English. So Panzerkampfwagen, essentially, tank, even though it means armored vehicle, whatever. 35 from its original designation, R, and they switched it for some reason. And then 731, those numbers essentially designate what type of tank. 731, like you'll see, I believe a few others will have 731 as designations as well. That just means, I believe, that just means light tank, or maybe there's a more detailed, like that could be specifically an infantry tank. But those are pretty standardized. Like the T-34 and the Sherman have the same number. And then F, in parentheses, also comes from France, which is why I have the W in mind. And they were just used as security, mainly in France, close to their spare part base, but also in the Balkans, and possibly in the conquered territories of Russia for anti-partisan operations. Others served as driver training vehicles, turretless, while their turrets found an application of various armored trains against French resistance or partisans throughout Europe. Other turrets were used as pillboxes in various strategic positions in France and the Netherlands. 14 of these driver training vehicles, still with their turrets, saw action at Sainte Marie Église with the 1057th Grenadier Regiment on 6th of June 1944. There were also a considerable number, 174, converted into an early tank hunter, the 4.7 cm Pak T aus Panzerkampfwagen 35R F on Turm. It is essentially a Panzerjäger 1 mounted on an R35. And while, on paper, it's better, the suspension unreliability fucked them over. I mean, it has more armor, so you're more protected in them, and they're way trippier, but oh well. They were there day one of Barbarossa. They were in the Channel Islands, and they saw action in Normandy in 44. 124 were given to Italy to compensate for their losses in Africa. These saw action at 1943 in Gala, Sicily, notably against the US Rangers in the early hours of the Allied invasion of Operation Husky. Romania also saw some use of them. They were going to produce 200 locally. So they bought 45 in 39. Well, in 1939. And then 34 Polish tanks came over, so they used those as well. And then they took place in Barbarossa. They also, yeah, they put a, what's it called? The Soviet 45 in those turrets as well. They upgraded them. Pretty cool. There was also a command variant of the R-35 based on the Panzerjäger. It was a bit more reliable because it, didn't have a fat gun. Let's see. Hungary used some when they were interned from the Poles. Bulgaria received some from the Germans to use against partisans. Switzerland also interned some that ran over there in 1940. After the war, ex-French R-35s left in Syria were reconditioned and used by the Syrian forces against the Israelis in the 1948 conflict. Okay. I know the Israelis had H-39s, but R-35s, the Israeli H-39s had the long barrels. They had the long barrel H-39s. The R-35s in Syria had the 37s. That's fucked up. They were fighting Shermans, dude. Oh, that's awful. Oh, poor thing. And Cromwell's. 5 saw action against the Kibbutz Digaf Degani Alif, but were knocked out by Molotov cocktails in a single 20mm anti-tank gun. It's so sad. Oh, there it is. There's also the Lebanese army upgraded them with a British 40mm Ordnance 2-pounder after 1945. It's currently being restored by France at the time writing of this article. So that's pretty cool. That means one actually still... If it is not obvious to you that I did not design the logo with the pentagon in consideration, I hope it does soon. I'm at that stage of FTD where I just stare at my completed vehicles going, hell yeah, brother. Like, the Skip is such a nice looking tank. You can tell it's an FT, yet it has distinctive features. Like that 50mm, the coaxial Maxim gun, the spotlight mounted down there instead of a... what's it called? A machine gun. It's hatches, and the suspension covering's unique. That's unique. It's such a nice tank. I also do love the Stug, it's just a bit of a pancake. This one's looking good though. I might stare at this one for a while when it's done. Back's pretty well greebled. And now I'm not using cyan everywhere, so no one has any reason to bully me anymore over it. But I am using a, well, technically still cyan, but just different shade. I feel like I've been scamming y'all, because I have not given any content for a while, and yet y'all are still subscribed. So I gotta do something. There we go. Like, again, this is like a cute combination of a T60 and a Renault. Yeah, R35, whatever. Ah, such a creature. I am currently using the one at, not Kipinka, Patriot Park, that's what it is. It's, one that was captured on the Eastern Front, doing garrison duties. It's quite nice, it's gray, the good old Balkan Kurtz on it. Ow! My back. I really like the R35 suspension. I can't quite replicate it here, though. So, Sag. Well, I mean, I got the suspension, but it has really nice covers, which I can't without making them spin. So, oh well. Let's see, what other details can we add to the front of this thing? Just something like that. Make it look like it's meant to latch onto there while it's up. Just kind of like lock it there. And last time, when I told them they were French, he's like, oh no, keep the French away. And then when I don't say they're French, he's like, wow, those look great. I know there's going to be a few people in particular who are going to love the fact I keep making French tanks. This is now twice. And if you're one of them, Sector 7 Stream 1, it's been a week. Actually, it was those 2 weeks. I put I marked it on my calendar. Oh, that looks so bad. Oh no. Sandbags! That's what I can put up here. Sandbags. I recently learned how to make sandbags, and I thought they were pretty neat. So I just need to put some of this down here. Or there's actual diagonal railing, right? Yeah. Cool. Let's put some sandbags on that. Let me see if I remember how this works. I think it's just AI blocks, ERA blocks. Because I messed around with it on the Mulberry. Oh, that is cursed. Realistically colored Mulberry. Yeah, right there. Sandbag. Let's get some of those. Actually, I'm just gonna copy paste that. And then I'll just start tweaking these. I want to get them really compacted. Like back-to-back sandbag action. Alright, back to sandbaggage. Where'd I put them? Right there. Nope, right there. Is this lore accurate for R35s to have sandbags Not particularly, but it looks really cool. Dang it. Freaking Discord message popped up and I can't click options. There we go. Sorry, not this. This is actually going quite well. The song I was playing just had a static bit. Oh yeah, that's actually looking quite good right now. What if I just, like, copy-paste that right there? Then just start deleting ones. There we go. That actually works. Can't tell that I just copy-pasted those. Hell yeah! Okay. Little dubious creature with sandbags. It's... From the back, it looks like an R35. From the front, it is a bit more difficult. That also helps the turret isn't done, and the turret doesn't look perfect. I might actually just remove that. It does look a bit strange poking out there. What can I replace it with? Nothing. But I can increase the slope. That's got a good piece of information I want to share. Apparently you can change the wheel config from like 6 usage to like 1. Or just like do this. Yeah, look at that. Put that to 2. And it uses less power. And I'm gonna be doing that for this because this tank is kind of meant to be slow. I need to also decrease the speed on the FT. I'm trying to get things a bit more accurate here. I mean, I was gonna say these things aren't terribly slow, but they're pretty slow. Alright. I think onto the turret, I'm gonna add some log armor and like some just like crap to the side. Useful stuff, but... Oh, whoops. There we go. Okay. And then let's get the vision slit done over here. Simple, pretty much the same as the bottom one. This is just for commander's vision, not the gunner's sight, I don't believe. So I'm not going to use my typical 2 dots. Sorry, you'll have to look at that incredibly unfinished Panzer in the background. Actually, I'm going to tilt that down, because that's what this thing, the R35, actually has. It's actually kind of interesting how many of the Lebanese R35s remain. I thought those were the Romanian ones, but no. Oh, yeah, none of the Romanian ones survive, but the Lebanese ones do. Okay, hold up. I could put another... Let me see how this looks. Honestly, not bad. I'm gonna drag these forward, then. There we go. Now I can combine them into something cooler. Maybe not. Sorry, I did... Discovers new tank, immediately converts the idea to that tank. Oh, look at that. What a dubious little creature this fella is. I might decrease the sizes of these, though, to about 4. And then just like 5, 5. Those 4. Actually, no, I want those 3. And those to be 4. There we go. Little quirky fella. Then I need a hatch on both sides. So I'm glad Mr. No Sector 7 stream that the stream today was cancelled, because I'm going to toss this little fella in. I am already very pleased with it. It definitely suffers from made when clinically exhausted, but I just really think it's neat. I love making my own versions of these little historical tanks and then getting to mess around with them. I love when you increase the size of ladders, they just ascend. Here we go. Let's also get some vision. What's it there, I think? Wow, this is actually really cute. Let me screenshot of that. And maybe when I add the... Here, let me add the gun shroud. Okay, and I'm also going to add the recoil spring from the 2-pounder. I need a... Actually, I'm just going to copy the one from the FT to start with. That's a bit too small, though. Never mind. It has a little chode. Well, this is extended a crowd. This is me versus your mom. And trust me, I thought that sentence through. I know exactly what I just said. But if I made the recoil spring wider than the gun, it would actually go kind of hard. There we go. Alright, that is screenshot worthy. That's not right. What's wrong with you? You're the wrong color. Let's make that gray. You know, it doesn't look like an R35 anymore, but it's really cool looking, so... I want one right there. Oh, that means I'm gonna have to make another one! Oh, this is painful. No, actually, I'm gonna check the Steam Workshop, see if anyone's ever made an R35. Let me go grab that Lewis or Maxim. No, I can't. Ah, dang it. I remember now. Okay, so when I was making this thing, I wanted to move the Maxim down here, then I realized I can't just copy all. So, there we go. Coax Maxim. Hell yeah. It really does just look like a T60. I started trying to make an R35, and I think this is the best possible ending. Where instead of an R35, I ended up with something inspired by it, and kit bashed with like 5 other things, and I made something really cool. Genuinely, I need a deco that's shaped like a spoon to make this. Oh yeah, that is as close as I'm getting. I just need springs connecting the two. Is there a spring? There is a suspension spring! Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be fat. Oh yeah. Look at that. That's actually an R30... Like, that's as close to an R35 suspension as I'm getting, dude. Yeah, that's not changing color. Why are you not changing color? Unless I accidentally put 2 over 1. I did. I know there's more details in these suspension systems, but it's very difficult to work with. Hell yeah, dude. R35. Kind of. Alright, let's grab those logs and put them on the side now. I kind of want logs protecting this, because that's the exhaust. So... It works! Haha! Oh, that's so good. Boing! I love this thing. Wow. Look at that. I just made another really good looking tank. With a Maxim. Because I love the Maxim. I don't know what to add there, though. Is there just like a dial? And then I'll also make this one, that. Boom! Yeah! I think, oh my gosh, we haven't even named it! Okay, so, first of all, we gotta set up its AI. I'm just gonna do point at, to that, boom. It has a bit of a punchier gun than the FT, make it sit back. This hover, because hover just works better. I'm so fucking funny. Okay, so, naming scheme time. I'm feeling a T name. Tram. I like tram. There we go. This is the BTP, also known as the Beutepanzer. What? Fuck it. This is the Beutepanzer 28-170W tram. For its 170mm gun, it's 28,000 cost, and tram because I think it sounds nice. And holy, that is a screenshot and a half. Beautiful tank. Alright, well, I'm gonna call it here then, guys. I truly have loved building this, even though I am very sleepy. Yeah. I don't really know what else more to say. Besides just I'm trying my best to get stuff out. And I guess subscribe. 10 more subs, and if I can find the bullets, I'll shoot that furry plushie. That's still the goal of mine. That just means I have to order it, though. I don't know. Put in the comments, though, like, what other tanks I should make. I'm trying to stick with French and German tanks from early war and mid-war. Hence, Stug. And FTs were used in World War II. Those absolutely were used. Same with the R-35, even though this is a very modified R-35. Hopefully, I got all the visual aid icons done. And that will be it for the building segment. I'm going to really quickly record the historical information so that we can have a voiceover. And yeah. Hope y'all have a cringy day, for cringy days are the best days. I'll talk to y'all later. Adios.